This is The Music Executive, a show where we talk about gig tips, music business strategies, songwriting experiences, collabs, and even more with industry professionals. Let's get into it.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the show. My name is Cinnamon Denise. That's cinnamon like the spice, Denise like Denise. And today we have an incredible guest. He is an amazing, amazing musician. And the thing about him is that he's not only a piano player, he's a singer, producer, arranger, band leader. And we're going to be talking about Bandleader blues. And we couldn't come up with a cooler way to say that. So if you think it's corny, oh well. So Emmanuel Chops Smith is a piano player who started out as a teenager leading a band and doing small club gigs. And now after he's gone to jazz school at Georgia State University, he plays all over the Southeast with wedding groups and jazz bands and even books for a few entertainment companies. Emmanuel Chops Smith, welcome to the show.
Wow, thank you.
If you were suddenly transported to another planet, how would you assess the situation?
How would I assess the situation? I'm assuming that, like you can breathe and everything and all that. You can survive on this planet. Obviously, you would look for the things that you need to survive, but also the things that you miss, your loved ones, your passions. In this case, obviously, like music, right? How would I continue to have my passion and my love? I always think about how the worst thing that could ever possibly happen to a degree would be like music being taken away. So I imagine you assess the situation by trying to find how you're going to make it. How is this going to work? Is this going to work or is this over? Is this it?
Yeah. So here's the thing, y'all, with these questions. Y'all know I ask these questions at the beginning of the shows, these random surprise questions. And it's funny to hear how different people like attack them. Some are like, if I were transported to another planet, I'd figure out how to plant a tree so I can eat. And, they get real technical or they just start to get real practical. So I love some practical answers. And some people, they just go with it. They're like,
interesting.
Well, I would try to buy an elephant, of course. And you're like, okay. But anywho, y'all, Emmanuel is an amazing, I don't want to pigeonhole him, but he first and foremost is an amazing pianist, musician, and person. But Emmanuel is also a singer. So we're going to give a little insight to that as well. So Emmanuel, tell us a little bit about your background.
I started playing music when I was really, really young. I was maybe 3 or so playing in, children's church and what have you. I'd play Amazing Grace while all the other kids were singing Amazing Grace. And instead of singing, I'd be playing. That's really what got me comfortable with the instrument from the jump. Fast forward a few years, I started taking classical lessons. I was maybe 7 or so and not zoomed. I would never say I zoomed through classical lessons because I wouldn't say that I ever finished, quote unquote, classical music. But I went through classical lessons for a good number of years until about, I want to say the 7th or 8th grade when I started listening to jazz and learned about other styles of music. From between that 7-year-old year up until the 7th or 8th grade, piano equaled classical music or, playing church stuff with the family, right? So it wasn't until maybe 7th or 8th grade when I was literally on the brink. I'm tired of classical music. I don't want to do this anymore. And that, I think it's funny. That's usually when people quit. I don't want to practice. I don't want to play classical music. I'm done. I don't want to play anymore. And my teacher, instead of quitting, because I did love the piano. I obviously still do, but I loved piano. And so she introduced me to Stevie Wonder and Ray Charles. And I think the idea of this blind person who could play piano and it wasn't classical music, really just took me to this next level of intrigue. Oh, wait, that's awesome. Listen to all of their stuff and just open this whole new world for me. And then 8th grade, 7th, 8th, 9th grade, I discovered, jazz with Ray Charles and whatnot. And jumped into jazz music and never looked back, for lack of a better term. I started a little band in high school, went to Georgia State for jazz, continued playing and running bands and playing in other bands as a sideman and as a leader. And then found a new love for funk music and party music and reggae music and the way that piano fits into all these other styles of music. So, yeah, long story short, I guess that would be the snippet side of my story.
Well, everybody has a different story, and it's the I don't want to play classical music anymore. Either we're gonna not play classical music or not play this instrument anymore is a really common progression of how people will start to get into other genres. Now, you said that you started, leading a band, you have your own band, you do your own shows and that sort of thing. So we're talking about today Bandleader Blues, right?
Mm-hmm.
And again, I apologize for the corniest, but y'all will be okay. Like, as you get to know me on this show, you know that I'm pretty corny. So,
I think it suits me too.
but I also really don't care. So here we go. Anywho, be comfortable in your own skin. Own who you are. Now, the thing about it is there's so many things to consider when you are leading a band and also when you're part of a band. So the first thing that we think about when you're playing in a band is that camaraderie. Like, apart from all things, y'all kind of have to like each other. Like real talk, you're spending all this time together. So talk about the importance of a good hang.
Okay. Good hang. Actually, there's a range for what a good hang could be, but it's kind of like what you said, where you almost kind of have to like each other to a degree because you spend so much time together, and playing music and doing music is a very vulnerable experience. Depending, if you're doing it to a certain level, it is very connected. And in order to do this well, we have to play as a team and do this together. Even more so than liking each other, you almost become kind of like a family. Families have different dynamics where that's different from friendship. I can't stand you, but we're forced to be together. So I love you, but I can't stand you. Get out of my face. Don't talk to me, but we'll do this because we have to. And I know bands like that too, and they work just as well. As far as good hang, it depends on whether you feel like a family, whether you enjoy the company of these people. I always relate playing music. I used to play basketball when I was younger, so I always relate music to a degree with basketball, where it was more fun when I was playing with people that I liked playing with. And if I liked playing with you, we had a good time and we probably won. And music to me is the exact same way, where we are a team here on stage. Let's have some fun. Let's do this. We're going to miss a few shots. We're going to mess some stuff up. But ultimately, we're going to win. We're going to have a good time and we're going to win. And by winning, we make beautiful music and have a good time. And we get off of stage, or we get off of whatever we're performing on, feeling accomplished and like, this was a good moment we shared. This was nice. And you hate that with people you can't stand,
Yeah. Yeah. There's levels to this, right? Because there are certain people that you can't stand that you become the best of friends because you both know that you can't stand each other.
Exactly. Yeah. Like family.
It's so,
right?
Yeah, it's so bad. It's so bad that it's funny. Like at this point, like I know people who are just like, yeah, when I met her or I met him or I met them, I could not stand them. And now we're best friends. Like that's my soulmate, So it's real common. So it's okay if you don't like your band members. There is hope. Now, the next thing, we could talk about is good pay. And what does that mean? Not necessarily, I don't want you throwing out numbers here. I want you to talk about what that means in context and what makes it worth it.
Sure. That's good, because I always tell this story about an old musician friend of mine who kind of mentored me for a while. I want to say 30 or 40 years older than me. Like, he's an older musician I used to hang around with. So I used to hang around with old heads. He was if you're not making this amount of money, you shouldn't be doing the gig at all. And at the time, that amount of money sounded like, I do a gig for that amount of money. That sounds normal to me. Why would I not do that gig? You don't want to make that kind of money? That's good money. But I think it's conditional on your situation and what makes the gig worth it to you, or what makes the performance worth it to you. If you leave feeling like you should have made more money because you didn't enjoy yourself, or everything was awful and I should have gotten paid more to do this, that's not good pay. If you didn't think anything about the money and you can pay your bills when you go home, or even if you couldn't, you didn't think when you left the gig that I should have made more money for this, that's decent pay. And it ties into a handful of factors that are really conditional on you and your situation. But that also, sometimes the hang and the music and whatnot can tie into whether or not this pays enough. If I'm doing a gig that I hate and don't want to be here, I want to make more money for it. But if
Right.
I here for free, anything that you gave me would have been great. I just do it for gas money, right? So, I mean, and also obviously you have to pay bills, and we do music because we love it, but we also got to eat. We got to pay. We got to make bread and do what we got to do. So all of those kind of conditions go into that thought. What makes this enough pay for me?
Right.
Yeah.
Here's a question for you.
Okay.
I have two questions, but the first one is you get paid little to nothing, but it leads to a gig that pays you much to all. Is that gig worth it?
Yes. The question or the eternal issue is that you don't know if you will get that everything to all gig from doing that little to nothing gig. You have no guarantee from that. It's really just a risk and an investment where I'm going to do this gig because it might get me another gig, and that very much makes gigs worth it. But you do have to decipher whether or not it's worth your risk. And that's where you get into, well, is the hang good? Is the music good? Is this enough pay? If I didn't get anything out of this, was this worth it?
It depends, right?
Yeah, it
You
depends.
giving me the lawyer answer. It depends. How much is my divorce going to cost? It depends. The last thing, good music. Right now, what does that even mean? Because I think that's completely subjective. The word good is totally subjective anyway.
Yes, absolutely.
So what does that mean for you?
All three of those things are subjective, like good hang, good pay, good music, right? But good music really just comes down to whether this is good for me personally. Do I gain any musical experience from this? Do I enjoy this experience that we have? Like, was this music fun for me to play? Did I learn something from doing this? I played with this one band when I was still in jazz school that helped me fall in love with party music and funk music. And I went into that band, would sit in every week, and I didn't make any money, and I was trying to play jazz over party stuff, and it did not work. And so the pay was not good because I wasn't making anything. The hang was great because I was hanging with older musicians who were fun to be around and taught me a whole wealth of knowledge. But the music was also good because I was learning how to play with this band. I was learning how to play this music so that if I ever wanted to play this in the future, I had that. Same with a reggae group that I started working with, but I was just sitting in with their band. The pay wasn't great. The hang was okay because I didn't know any of them, but the music was great. I was learning how to play reggae music and in the best possible way. So good music isn't even necessarily, do I like this music? Do I leave this gig feeling like this was okay, like this was good? Did I disdain this whole experience? If you got something from this positive, you're good.
Right. Backtracking a little bit to good pay, want to bring to your attention and the audience's attention is that good pay is also related to the level of organization that the band leader has, that the band has. Like, it can be a good hang, be good music, but if it takes you 6 hours to get through one song and you have 30 songs, in a rehearsal, that may not be worth any amount of pay.
Right. And that happens a lot.
Yeah, for sure. And the thing is, it's not just organization when it comes to rehearsals. It's also a level of doing your homework as far as who the band leader is. Like, are they reliable? Do they put their business in? Do they have their business in order before they start things? Who's calling the shots in the gig? Who's making the options, the audibles? Like, all that stuff is really important. So what is the biggest takeaway that you've gotten from being a band member and from being a band leader? Either one.
Ooh, okay. You said something earlier about doing your homework. I think the biggest takeaway or the best thing that you can do as a musician is do your homework, learn your music, do what's been asked of you, show up on time, and the rest of your job is easy. We do, and oh God, I could talk about this forever. We do music because we love it. But there's also a business side to what we do. This is also our job. You have to do your job so we can enjoy our job. Like, we can't have fun until the business gets taken care of, until I know that my bread is going to be on the table when I get home. Like, so we can enjoy ourselves after we've set this all up. Do your part as a side, or especially as a side musician, right? Like, as a band leader, all I've asked you to do is learn your music and show up on time. So I'm not stressed out when I have to deal with all the other things that will stress me out as a band leader. Like, there are other factors that have nothing to do with us that will inevitably come up. So the best thing you can do is your job. And then, there's the and then there's the occasional, like, hey man, can I help you with anything? Or can I wrap some cables and stuff? That also goes a really long way, like with good hang and all of that stuff. That goes a long way. But bare minimum, learn your homework, learn your music, and show up on time. Do your job.
That will get you rehired more often.
Yeah, that will get you paid. You know what I mean? Like, that will put bread on your table.
Yeah, for sure. Well, y'all, this has been a lot of fun. This is the Music Executive, and these are the types of things that we talk about. We have so many amazing guests coming, but what you're about to hear is a tune called Canadian Sunset by jazz pianist Eddie Haywood. And Emmanuel Chops Smith is the pianist and the producer, along with Justin Barnes on drums. He's also the producer with Billy Thornton on bass and Marlon Patton, who was the mixer. Emmanuel, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, with love, yoga, and music, y'all. Peace.
Don't forget to leave a rating of the show. It helps to make us better. Thanks so much. Y'all take care.